o'clock. I'll call the meeting to order. Please stand and join me in the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Right, first up, we have the consent agenda. Has everyone had a chance to review it?
I'll make a motion, we approve.
I'll second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, first up, John Rasmussen, engineer, open bids for project plans for L-WS 31-73-78. Entertain a motion to open the bids.
So moved.
Second.
Great. So we had a letting on the materials for this bridge earlier, hoping we could do it underneath our day labor threshold. We could not. So we had,
How many bids we got?
oh, sorry.
Three. Pardon? Three. Okay, thank you.
So Brandon gave you a list of bidders that held plans. We had 3 bidders.
Yeah.
Bring them
Oh,
in.
there it is.
Second page of your deal. First bridge open was Murphy Heavy Contracting of Anita. Their bid amount was $308,052.50. Their bond is complete. The second bid open was GoCo of Red Oak.
Okay.
GoCo, yep. Bond is complete. Their bid was $198,250. Yes. And the final bid received was Dixon Construction out of Correctionville, Iowa. The bond is complete. Their bid was $277,000 even. Yes.
Everything come back.
Yeah, we'll check the numbers and bring this back to be awarded next week.
Okay, and did, these all 9 take the packet then or not?
They were holding plans, they didn't turn in a bid.
Okay, so, but you had that many new plans.
Yeah, I don't know if they requested them or we sent them out, a little bit of both.
Okay.
Honestly, we advertise it through the
Yeah,
service bureau, through the whole state.
yeah, yeah.
And we try to mail it out as much as we can too.
That, yeah, there's quite the spread here.
Geared up for winter construction.
Yeah, the material's gonna work for winter construction. We did the wood deck through Wheeler and the steel, so.
Yeah, but it's a completion date project, so it'll be the end of June. It has to be completed by that date.
All right, so we had a motion by Belt and a second by Shay to open the bids, and we had 3. But we didn't vote, so all those in favor of opening the bid, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right. Is there any other action at this time?
No, we're just so excited to open bids. We got ahead of you. Sorry.
All right, next up, John Rasmussen, County Engineer, discussion and or decision to approve and authorize the chairperson to sign the Safe Streets for All Grants Safety Pledge.
So moved.
I'll second that also.
Second by Shay. What am I committing here?
So, about a year ago, all the 98 of the counties, I think, got together to do a federal grant to write safety plans. So once this, we have to have the safety plan done before we can spend the Infrastructure and Jobs Act funds for safety. So this kind of opens the door and more grants to us. So we had a public hearing and talked about accident history in the county and collected data from interested parties. Then we came back with simple solutions and hot spots of where we need to do some safety work. So this will open the door for us to apply for maybe Wabash and Pioneer Trail intersection as a safety grant. So this really just opens the door to safety grants for us with the federal government. I think there's only 2 years left of that Jobs Act, so we're trying to get something through it before it closes out, but
I just see this, our eventual goal of 0 roadway fatalities and serious injuries by 2050. So the baby boomers will all be gone by then.
Hey,
And we'll have flying cars, is what you're saying. So that's the only way that we can realize this goal.
we're saying we hope to have 0 fatalities.
I resemble that remark.
This was that meeting, was that who was the outfit that came in? Was that
Oh,
DOT? Came in,
Come Leon, right?
that was a meeting out
LT Leon out of Des Moines.
at your shop
Yeah.
that we had.
Yeah, then the other, that was one of the consultants and the other one is out of Atlanta, Georgia, I think. Kimberly Horn. They've won a lot of federal grants in Iowa, probably nationwide, I guess, over the last couple of years, so. So we partner with them and they've done this a lot, but it was a prerequisite for more federal grants
To have
So we-
that,
to have this updated. So this is large, part of that larger plan.
okay.
Fantastic to get that turn lane in there.
Baby steps, I guess.
All right, so we have a motion by Belt and a second by Shay to approve. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Thank you.
You Don?
Thanks, John.
All right, moving to Suzanne Watson, Director, Community Services. Discussion and/or decision to approve director to sign and submit a response proposal to ADS-25-001 Disability Access Points Request for Proposals for District 4 to the Iowa Department of Health and Human Services. Morning, Suzanne.
Good morning.
What is this we're approving?
So this is part 2 of the request for proposals response that we put in October 18th. That one, as a reminder, was about the administration, quality assurance, basically service development, prevention to recovery for all things mental health and substance use. This next one, which is due the 20th, is what they're referring to as a disability access point, which is what our service coordinators currently do in the current system. So this would be a little bit different, but very much the same. They call it service coordination. They also call it options counseling. Some similarities in how we set people up with what they refer to as short and long-term services and supports. So these are things that we've been doing basically since 1992 when we had case management start with the county. So it's really what we kind of do best as far as just getting people to the services that they need. We believe that it will probably take most of the service coordinators that we currently have on board. Those that we don't necessarily utilize, we'll probably use them over in the other portion, hopefully, if we are awarded that for the behavioral health ASO piece, just with quality assurance and those types of things. So again, it's very similar to how the service system is set up now, in that the disability access points is the new term of what we currently do, and what the Area Agency on Aging currently does on the aging side will make up what they refer to federally as an ADRC, Aging Disability Resource Center. So again, we'll be working closely with the AAAs, referring back and forth for people. Yeah, so it's very similar. So the writing, thank goodness, we had a big learning curve for the first RFP response. And we were able to use, I would say, at least 50 to 60% of the material that we had already developed in the first RFP response and transferred over to this one. So it hasn't seemed quite as big of a task this time. So still a lot of work though. Really tired of writing and editing and reading. So deadline is the 20th. We're hoping to have it done Friday, the 13th. That was the original submission date. So that's still our target, is to submit it on Friday.
And remind me again, when was the notification supposed to be done on the first RFP that you?
We will find out on that no later than December 30th. I did hear yesterday that HHS said that they told a group of providers they've made a decision, and it should be 5 to 10 days when they release that. I'm guessing they will release it immediately after this one is due. I think we'll probably hear either on the 20th or that following Monday.
Okay, so, did your, I assume, do you still call it the mental health? The district servicing your meeting on Monday?
Region meeting?
Yeah.
Our mental health
Did
disability?
they need to approve this also?
No, because this goes strictly through Pottawatomie County.
Okay. But they're aware.
Oh, yes. Yep, for sure.
Yep.
Very supportive.
Thank you.
Any more questions? for
So I guess just one more, Susan. So if you don't get that one, is there a chance you'll get this one, or?
Yes.
one-
Yep.
You may get this one and not that one?
We could get both, either or neither.
Okay.
So,
So combination of all the above.
yeah, and it will depend. I mean, some of obviously where we're gonna save some funds administratively and make this work administratively is if we get both of them. It will be, well, ultimately, it will save the Department of Human Services money. And then also with both districts, District 4 and District 1, that will also save those administrative costs. So we're hoping still for both. If we don't, we probably won't need as many staff. So if we don't get the first one and we get this one, we'll probably not need as many people as we currently have. So
At our supervisors meeting last week, there's quite a few counties in District 4. Happy.
Yeah. you heard about it.
Well,
Yeah, all I know is that the next 6 months will be, it's still this timeline they have us on is, it's pretty risky, but it is what it is. I mean, somebody's gotta provide these services, so we're gonna have to make it happen in the next 6 months, no matter what,
yeah.
so,
Thank you for your leadership.
yes.
All right, we have a motion by Belt and a second by Jorgensen to approve the director to sign and submit the RFP. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion. Thank you so much.
Yep, thank you.
Always go back to announcing.
I can, yeah, football. Pretty good at it. Maybe ESPN on fire.
Send them your tape.
Next, Matt Wyatt, Director, Planning and Development, discussion and or decision on final plat of Pablo's Addition, a subdivision situated in Garner Township, and to sign planning and zoning resolution number 2024-09. Good morning, Matt.
Morning.
Second.
Glad the plot plan changed, Matt, and showed that 66 foot wide road.
Yeah, I think that will be potentially beneficial for future development.
What, and maybe I missed it the last time. Uh, Is this a new surveyor, this Dean Wilkie? Do you know him?
No, Dean's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where's he work out of?
normal ones that he does are usually on the eastern side of the county,
Really?
but he
Does
does,
he live over that way?
what's that?
Does he live over that way?
I'm not sure where Dean's,
Oh, I've never,
but
so, I mean, they're hard to find,
yeah,
so I'll look him up. Thank you.
there's a lot of them aging out. We gotta get some new ones going.
Reaching out and passing on.
Yeah, cause I've heard one surveyor, the qualifications for that, that requires more CEUs per year than a doctor,
Really?
to maintain your licensing.
But is that a 4-year thing to get a surveyor? It's at least a 2-year deal.
I think it's probably longer after that.
You, Don, are you qualified to survey?
It's 4-year bachelor degree, then I think it's 4 years under a land surveyor.
Oh, really?
So
So
it's-
you gotta do apprenticeship.
They keep trying to change the rules to maybe make that easier, cause it's a dying breed.
Yeah. Well, with
So it's 10 years, not a-
GIS and all those other tools now, you'd think it'd really not getting easier, I guess.
He said Dean was out of Panama, is that right?
Yeah, there you go,
Yes?
Panama.
Wow, okay. Thank you.
Matt, one real quick question for you. Is it customary for construction to start on a lot before the plat's approved?
I wouldn't say that it's a regular occurrence, but it does happen. Like in this instance, the property owner allowed the permit to be pulled in their name. And we'll transition that once the lot is sold.
Questions for Matt?
All entrances are off this 66-foot road.
No, two of the lots will access, the two rear lots will access off of that drive.
Okay,
And then the two front lots will be accessing directly off of 205th Street from existing entrances that are there.
okay.
Chairperson Miller,
Aye.
Supervisors Belt,
All right.
Jorgensen,
Aye.
Wickman,
Aye.
Shea.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah.
Jason Slack, Director, Building and Grounds, and Scott Reels Engineering, discussion and or decision on Courthouse North parking lot, change order number 1.
So the test performed on the soil showed compaction was not there. And to achieve compaction, it's gonna be hard because of the weather conditions with the cold nights and stuff. So one option, if we wanted to get the work done this year yet, would be to excavate more soil, bring in more rock, and then pour over the top of that for a total of $49,636.30.
What was the total bid before that?
220 or 225, right in that range. At this point, I told Jason, it's not good for pouring concrete. We got snow on the ground. The spec is, has to be 40 and rising to pour. We really have limited days of that. So my recommendation was not to do this and to let them go off or start in the spring and finish the project.
I think that's really our only option right now. I can't really justify a quarter of the cost of the project.
Yeah, they have in their contract now, they have a completion date of December 16th. And they have $250 a day liquidated damages after that. They, for whatever reason, I think the first 3 weeks, they had a couple of really big rains.
Yeah.
So they got a slow start. That kind of killed the first 3 weeks. And It was about 6 weeks from when the contract was signed to the December 16th cutoff date, which is about half their time. And now it's cold and snowy, and I just think you get a much better product if you wait till spring, plus the cost.
I'm not in favor of spending $49,000 for this project. In addition to, I think it's too much. And, I'm in favor of waiting till spring.
Oh, sorry.
I worry about the cement. When we pour it, the quality of it.
Me too.
Jason, what do we do with that hole that's there?
Well, I would say we fence it off.
Fence it up, are we filling it back up? It's gonna collect,
Yeah.
snow, water, I mean, it might take us 5 years to get it dried out to full.
I think we need to talk to the contractor and see what they want to do. It's kind of their site to manage. But yeah, you're right. If it rains, it'll collect water because it doesn't drain. But maybe,
They have all the liability is what you're trying to tell us?
yeah, I mean, it's their site.
Well, yes and no.
I mean, you own the property, yeah.
Yeah. What, should we look at putting like, I don't know, maybe on both sides, not sure, like a strip of gravel on both sides of it along the edges, so people drive off, it gets soft and,
Yeah, they may want to fill it back in.
I mean, just along
Yeah.
there's no curbs up. So they drive off and
Yeah, I
it's
agree.
soft in the spring, it's just
Yep.
gonna sink right in and
Well, when it
snow's
snows,
gonna pile up they're gonna push snow.
yeah, and you can't see the end of the snows and,
So, I mean, do we wanna put some gravel along both boundaries just to give us a buffer?
yeah, it's,
And then put a orange fence up around there or something?
We can put fencing up around the site too.
Yeah, well, don't put it real close to the boundaries. People are gonna hit it and then you're gonna be out there putting it up again and the ground's gonna be froze.
Yeah.
I mean, they should be able to do something depending on how much snow we get, I guess.
well, we wanted to kind of gauge where you were at on wanting to get it done this winter or not. And,
Well, we didn't know if you wanted to give us $50,000 or not.
no.
Okay.
Jason, is that your recommendation to, hold it off till spring?
It is.
I'll make a motion not to accept the change order.
I accept, or I second that.
And then, as far as the, do we need to do anything on the, sometimes Mother Nature, it's nobody's fault.
Yeah,
And I certainly don't want to penalize this contractor, $250 a day. Do we need to do anything with that contract?
yeah, we do. We can give them a suspension due to weather. I can work up a letter that Jason can get to the contractor. And then I would say I would recommend we give them the same amount of time from when the contract was signed to December 16th. If that was like 6 weeks or whatever, that same amount of time in the spring.
Well, I mean, still weather has an effect on it. Whatever you feel, I guess, is right, but,
Question is soil compaction going to be an issue come spring? I mean,
We reviewed this all with the geotechnical engineer. The geotechnical engineer is typically responsible for the design underground,
right,
civils above ground. He didn't see any reason that they shouldn't be able to get compaction in the spring, just additional effort.
okay, so what we're facing now, we won't be facing in the spring.
Well, they're gonna probably say they can't get it, but they're gonna have to just work at it and dry it out and get a bigger piece of equipment if they need to get compaction. So the geotechnical engineer says there's no reason they shouldn't be able to get what's spec'd.
Depending
that
on,
was,
on the weather
that was,
this spring. Yep.
the geotech was
TD squared.
TD squared. Okay,
Jason, will you get back to the board on a remedy for that, what we're gonna do with that existing hole that's there?
You know, we'll have to talk.
well, in the perimeter of that lot. Then somebody driving in there and doing cookies or whatever the hell they want to do.
Thanks, Chase.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion by Wickman, a second by Shay to deny the change order number 1 for the courthouse north parking lot. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried.
So you bring back that extension letter then?
Yeah, I'll get something to Jason.
Yeah.
It's a nice try. All right. David Byer, Chief Information Officer, Information Technology. Discussion and or decision to approve board chairperson to sign Tyler Technologies amendment. Morning, David.
Good morning. So this is our 3-year agreement is coming to an end here soon. So this is a new 2-year that would extend on past that. I've sent you the numbers, but essentially it would be $115,087 in May for the next year, and then 3% increase the year after that. And of course, Tyler Software is our finance, personnel, tax, document management, project accounting software. So it's arguably our number 1 most important software in the county.
Just in your budget.
Yeah.
Did they send you like a shirt or a hat ever, Tyler?
No,
Tim, you made the motion.
Yeah.
I second it.
Scott got this.
Give it there. Talk to me about that.
and I would just also add that the end of the 2 years, likely Tyler will want us to move to their cloud solution. So right now, Tyler is located in this building, the server and the data. Tyler Cloud is something that is being pushed or pressed. And so when that does happen, likely near the end of the 2 years, they're going to be pressing us to move to it. We don't want to move until other counties have blazed the trail for us. But I will just let you know that that is coming. And Tyler Cloud means that it would leave here and be in Amazon Web Services or AWS.
So there's a possibility of hacking?
No, well, I mean, no, I'm not concerned about that. I'm just
Don't click
stating
on
that it
that.
would be a new,
What is the equipment we don't have to service anymore?
so we wouldn't need any virtual servers or storage.
So how much is that?
Well, we wouldn't realize any savings immediately because we've already bought that equipment.
What's just boat anchor stuff then?
Well, we'd have extra storage available to us, but we likely wouldn't use it. Their savings would be the
Why
next time we need
why
to
would
make a
keep it
purchase.
If we're not gonna use it, why would we keep it?
Well, I mean, our storage is one big, it's not like we have storage just for Tyler. Our storage is shared amongst lots of servers and lots of, files and what have you.
Yeah,
So
I understand that, but I
So-
mean, Tyler's gotta be a huge one,
it's a big part of it, sure.
so it goes away. There's no savings there.
Not immediately. The next time we would buy storage, we would buy less storage. So that would be our savings, but we just bought storage this last year, so it'd be 7 or 8 years from now. So I'm
Well,
planting
we
the
had,
seed.
whatever, 5-10 years ago, we had this cloud discussion, and I don't see it going away. See us going more and more, so we're gonna be out of that storage business per se,
Over time, we're less and less and less for sure.
so
Yeah, and so
figure that piece out.
if and when Tyler does ask us to move or start pressing more, then we would have to have a cover, because it will cost more to run Tyler, because you have to pay for the maintenance and you have to pay for the storage within AWS. So I'm guessing it'd be 50% more. So by that time, it'll be 120,000. It'd be pushing 200,000 a year for Tyler. So I'm planting the seed now because it's coming.
Do we have a seat at the table with the Tyler user group so that we can go through the process of their migration to the AWS cloud?
We have a Tyler committee here locally that we would, if everyone was on board with that move, then we would plan that out and figure those details out. But it would be a major, major event to migrate everything over into the cloud.
David, when you said locally, what do you mean?
In this building or in the county.
Okay.
Yep. So we have a Tyler committee that meets every quarter that talks about various Tyler topics, and this is certainly one of them that we've talked about many, many times. So,
But you mentioned that you would keep track of some of the other counties that transitioned.
yeah, we certainly wouldn't go to the Tyler Cloud unless there were 2, 3, 4, 5 other large counties that also had already gone before us. We don't want to be the bleeding edge on this kind of thing. We want to be, 4, 5, 6 down the line of large counties.
Well, the issue would be redundancy and backup, those kinds of things that would be found.
There would be redundancy. I mean, the cloud isn't a bad solution. I think it's a good solution. There's built-in redundancy, built-in uptime, updates would be simple. I mean, it would just happen in the background. We wouldn't even really know what updates occur. It's just the way the technology is moving. So, and there's nothing wrong with it. Plenty of great things about it. It's just the cost upfront is a little bit more expensive. You're paying subscription fees per user and those kinds of things. So the model changes. And we'll know more about that when we get a little closer. But I'm just communicating that now to plant the seed with you guys, knowing that there might be a bigger number coming down the road here in a couple of years after this 2 years is done.
I'm just always concerned about the hacking aspect of it.
Sure.
Using data and employee information, that kind of thing. That's going on all the time.
My understanding is that the cloud that they have selected is a government-based cloud, so it has a little bit more protections. They'd have multi-factor authentication. They'd have other tools to prevent hacking. Nothing's 100%, but I'm not concerned about it either. So,
Well, hardware's not getting cheaper,
no,
so I think sooner we can start doing some of that, the better off we're gonna be.
you pay for it either way, whether we pay for it locally or we pay them extra money.
Pay me later.
It kind of, I think it comes out in the wash at the end, but
Yeah, well,
it takes a while to recoup those numbers. So,
there's a reason people are doing it. Safety is one of them.
All right, we have a motion by Wickman and a second by Belt to approve the Tyler Technologies amendment. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, David?
Yeah.
Can we look at?
See you guys.
Doing, I'm training on smart sheets.
Smart sheets
Yeah.
and Excel you're talking about?
No, it's a Microsoft product. Which I just got educated on last week.
Okay, I'm not familiar with it myself, so
Check into it.
I can look into it. Yeah, I'll let you know. Yep.
An outfit that does the training.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank
you.
Dixie.
Next, we have Dixie Wilson, Accounting Technician, Auditor's Office. Discussion and/or decision to approve or disallow the following applications made to the Assessor's Office. Homestead, approximately 130 recommend allowed, 10 recommend disallowed. Military, 7 recommend allowed, 2 recommend disallowed. Disabled veteran homestead, 7 recommend allowed, 0 recommend disallowed. And family farm, 7 recommend allowed, 0 recommend disallowed.
Family Farm's actually 8.
Family Farm was 8.
Yeah.
Oh, you got a different sheet reading on.
Oh,
Which one's right? 8?
8.
8, yeah. On the agenda, right. Second.
Who did first?
Matt or Tim.
Any discussion?
I looked some of those up.
Yeah.
And some of them were LLCs, companies wanting to, I mean, that was kind of wild and crazy there.
Yeah, I mean, they just don't,
They just
Has
shoot
to
from
be
the
an
hip, it looks
individual.
like.
companies aren't allowed to get the credit.
You know, if you put your house in your business's name,
Then you don't get a,
you're certainly not gonna get that. Okay, anyway.
All right, all those in favor?
Right.
Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried.
thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much. Moving to discussion and or decision on Motorola purchase agreement. In the back of the room, we have Sherry and Fran.
This is Brian.
Brian.
Yep.
Okay, from Motorola. And we have Doug and Sam. And starting back in February or March of last year, we started looking at hearing more about issues with the current Orion system and the opportunities to move to the ISIG system. And last week we had a study session and there was a lot of good information that was shared. After that meeting, we had revised maps that Sherry provided that reduced the bid from one tower or from two towers down to one tower. And I think you've seen the maps. They were provided, they're printed out. I think we can go in some different directions, but the proposal that Motorola submitted back in August has been reviewed, vetted, talked about. The price tag is quite prohibitive to the county at this time. I mean, it was just shy of $6 million. I haven't had a chance to do all of my due diligence on ISIGs. I did talk to the director yesterday in Des Moines and learned a little bit more about the stability of the technology, but it's similar to the Tyler technology that David Byer was just talking about. Things keep changing, and at the state level, this is a state program that our legislators pay for, but at any time, they could change their plan as well. And I haven't had a chance to talk to the legislators to find out what their appetite is for keeping ISIG's platform updated. And that's kind of beyond what the scope of this proposal is. We have the two proposals from Motorola, and the incentives and those proposals expire December 30th, 2024. If we do nothing with these proposals, those incentives that Motorola has quoted for a little over $1 million, they go away. There's no guarantee that they'll be provided in the future. We continue to pay $120,000 Orion annual fee. And my recommendation is we conduct best practice radio communication training throughout the county. And I know that's been suggested several times. With Orion, what the issue that I've been hearing is they're rolling out patches and doing system updates, and there isn't any notification coming to the county. There was an issue where our deputies, or not our deputies, but CB police could not communicate on the west end of Broadway. I think we just need to have a conversation and figure out a better way to do that troubleshooting and management by Douglas County. Doug, you could probably speak to this. I think there's ways to improve the relationship that we have today. On the flip side, we have tower assets with 15-year technology, and Sherry and her team are out right now reviewing all of those towers. They've got to figure out what kind of upgrades are going to be necessary for those towers. I don't know when that project will be completed, Sherry, but we probably won't have that number until 2025.
Correct. Dawn, the projects that are proposed to you have an 18 to 24-month deployment timeline to get that to implement. So these are things to help with your current situation during that deployment time if you were to consider moving forward.
Sam reminded me yesterday that we have 911 consoles that are nearing end of life in 2030. Each of those consoles today cost $100,000, and there are 10 of them. So we're looking at $1 million that we're going to have to pay out for radio communication updates in the next 5 years.
So do those 10 have to all be replaced at the same time or not?
You will have audio issues if you have, because your consoles that you are, radio consoles.
So we're
the
buying the
911
consoles
center,
from you then?
yes,
Okay,
and they are, they're over 10 years old now. Easily, it could be over 15 years old. So if you place the equipment next to a brand new one, there is audio logging. You'll hear like, one will be a little faster and it'll confuse the dispatcher, so it's not recommended to co-locate in the same space.
And just to add to that, it's gonna look different. So we're, as you guys know, we're trying to hire people and train people. And so we're gonna train them on one computer that looks this way and then have to train them on another computer that looks completely different. It's not realistic.
so we're looking at a 10-year life going forward?
The radio consoles that you're using today have been there for over 15 years, but these are mission critical, you know, they're involved every single day. So, I mean, a 10-year lifespan is a good expectation. Could they go beyond 10? Yes. Can you maintain them and upgrade the software in them? Yes. I mean, you've done that with the ones you currently have.
You said it's $1 million.
That is an estimate. I have never asked Sherry for a formal quote. That is an estimate on my end.
Okay, how many now, and that's 10 units?
So there'll be at least 10, because we have 9 positions in here. We also have the 2 positions over at EMA,
That's 11,
so
it's 11 units. That's a bonding,
What's our alternative?
bonding.
cross your fingers.
No,
Is there a different
I mean,
brand?
it's gonna cost you more, in my opinion, to change brands. That's just my opinion. I've never,
So we don't know that, right, Sam?
We're 5 years out.
well, we're already at 15, we could be 2 years and they could go to shit on us.
Okay, the Motorola, we bought pagers with them, those radios. Walnut is going to a phone service. They are abandoning their pagers.
The
They give-
pagers.
they give-
Pagers are
they-
different than the
they give-
radios.
They
They're
give them,
cheaper than the radios and or cheaper than the pagers.
But-
The service is, and they are more reliable. They're not getting their pages.
are they giving them back?
I don't know what they're doing with them, but I was told they were going to this phone service.
We bought those just, what was it, last year?
Didn't we give those to them?
Yeah,
We should get them back. Put them in our
they're
stock.
just not working for them.
We should, you put them back in our stockpile. Doug, is that your deal? Whose deal is it? Us? We never handed them out to them.
Well, not physically, no.
No, we
It
didn't.
was purchased through the county. I don't know what you guys did.
Who handed them out to?
This was one of the discussions that we had when we distributed the radios and
Yeah,
stuff.
but who handed them out to?
I assume you guys, because
it's probably us.
You did?
Sure, I can take responsibility.
Okay.
I believe.
But my understanding is they're testing a cellular thing. It's in the test phase right now.
It's okay, but from what when I talked to some of they're going to them.
Okay.
They're more reliable, less problems. Like I said, in the middle of the night, when they get a page, they're not getting them. Period.
That paging system, that the unication pager, that's something that volunteers, firefighters approach to you guys for funding. The 911 center
not responsible for the pagers, you know, we're only responsible for sending out the message, and however they want to receive it, that's on them. They chose unification pagers at the time, and if they want to choose and go to a cellular thing, that's again on them. That's not a 911 responsibility. We send out the message, how they receive it, how they want to receive it, that's up to them.
You know, this, I became aware of this the first time in November, and I'm a long ways away from making a $4 to $6 million decision. This is a topic for a discussion in a capital plan discussion. But what's more important to me is, we're not going to, I don't want to eliminate a tower that we need in Crescent to save money. That's not the right thing to do, in my opinion. We also need to, one of the things that came out, and you started to address it, Susan, was some of our other towers have aged coax and antennas. What's the cost of that? I mean, I don't, if we're gonna try to put together some kind of a budget plan for this, then we need to know what all the costs are. Not just throw 3 million here and we don't get a tower in Crescent, so we don't care about the people in Crescent. I mean, I'm not doing that. We need to find out what the costs are. Put a couple of board members on that team that's gonna ask some tough questions and try to find some funding. Is there some grants available out there? Have we approached anyone? Can we use some of Doug's funding from 911 to help us pay from that? How about from Sam? Sam gets 911 money too, that he budgets for expenses. Can we get some of that? I mean, those are the kind of discussions we have to have, in my opinion, before we move forward on a,
It doesn't appear to me anyway, to
Three
be
to-
a 1 year deal for us. I mean, we're gonna have to maybe set aside escrow account for this business. Would I be right to say that or something?
Well, I mean, it's-
Something that
it's
we can-
important we get all of our information.
Right,
Like, if
right.
this could be a possible essential county purpose bond, can we use some of the pennies that are falling off of our bond, our debt levy? Can we combine that with some cash? I don't know that on the essential bond or the essential county purpose levy or a bond. So it's those kind of questions that I have. I mean, we heard Steve, Captain or
Winchell?
Chief Deputy Winchell said that everything's working where we have it right now. We're not in a pickle to do this. We've had dead zones in this county since the day they started putting radio communications up. I don't know if we'll ever get that fixed. So we're not in a crunch. We're not in a emergency situation right here to make a hasty decision. And that's where I'm at.
At the same time, this discount is really putting the pressure on us.
I don't,
Well,
I don't feel any pressure at all. They want our business, they'll give us a discount.
Mitch had the opportunity to talk with the state auditors about setting up cash reserves for these funds. Do you want to speak to that, Mitch?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that's allowed, you know, we can start a separate capital fund. I think that kind of speaks to even kind of what Tim was just saying here is if we get all the pieces in place, you know, what are the towers and the upgrades gonna cost, what needs replaced, what maybe even throw in what we need for consoles here coming up in 4 or 5 years or whatever along those lines and set a target date and a target number. We know it's gonna take 18 to 24 months once we agree to something. So I mean, that still gives us another year and a half or 2 years if we're setting aside money each year. So I mean, maybe we can make a decision as we work through capital plan and budgeting this year of, hey, what's our target completion date? And see how fast we need to get to, you know, it's probably mounting up to maybe being like a $8 or $9 or $10 million deal at that point in time. If we're going, it's gonna be a couple years later, which
You said the state auditor told you we could have sinking funds?
I didn't call it that. It's a capital fund. But yes, it's kind of like what we do for the land fund.
They said that was okay.
It is.
Yeah, cause I remember I had that conversation with them and they told me no.
Yep.
So
Yep, we would have to, I mean, we'd
we have to call it
we'd want to spell out what the capital project is for. We would
Okay.
encompass all of this, and then we could start finding different ways to fund it for some grants and some of the other things.
Okay,
So I think it's
so
important.
if
I think
it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a capital plan.
That's right.
Okay.
But I mean, I think it's important that we get something moving forward, right? It's not just don't do anything right now. So
No,
I think we all stay on this and make sure we get our upgrades as timely as we can.
So at this time, we're thinking of staying right with where we're at.
that's where I'm at, unless you got a check.
I'd like to throw it to Doug.
I'm out.
What are your thoughts, Doug, about this Motorola proposal that's in front of us?
I think after the discussion with the state auditor, well, here's my benefit, right? I get to formulate my opinion and my advice because I only have to approach it from one perspective, unlike you, which have to weigh everything with all the other priorities of county government, infrastructure, personnel, and everything else that competes for limited tax funds. So with that said, I really could see it either way. Like I told Sam, like I told Chief Deputy Winchell, my only concern about going with the Plan B at a reduced cost to get started now and not have that tower constructed in Crescent would be only if it created enough communications degradation that we were creating a worse scenario for responder safety. And there's some additional things that could probably be done that aid that. But the map that was provided that I believe that you all saw doesn't really give enough information, in my opinion, right? If it's green, it's at that 95% threshold that we want to be at. If it's 94 or less, it's white. Well, a lot of those white areas could either be 94 or they could be 4, and we don't know. And, you know, not these representatives' problem, but that's the company's policy on it. We're not going to commit to different levels of, even though it's probably pretty easy for them engineering wise to figure out pretty close to where we would be. So with that hanging over your heads, that's the big decision with me. If we knew or we had a better idea on those coverages, my recommendation would lean to get started now with that Plan B option. However, there's not enough data there for me to feel comfortable about that. Now, the plan that Supervisor Wickman has talked about is very realistic, very prudent, right? Make sure that we're not spending good money after bad, for sure. And we get what we want while we're still putting some money into these funds or whatever to deal with the issues we have right now. Like, you know, Sam and everybody talked about last week, we've got equipment out there that's already at the towers that's, 15 years old and stretching. And that's going to show its head before, if you sign the full contract today, right? Those things are going to start showing up before they start doing work, on the migration project anyway, right? So we need to be prepared for that. What you're discussing now with that type of capital improvement plan is exactly what some of us have been trying to get folks to make a decision on for over a decade. So without having better information provided by Motorola on what the Plan B potential degradation loss is up in the Crescent area, I don't know as if I would recommend that just because of safety. We don't know if white is 0% or if it's 94%. And they're not going to tell us. So outside of that, the only thing we can do, because it's absolutely correct, this isn't a Chicken Little, the sky is falling scenario for us. Like it was when we switched from VHF to 800 megahertz, 15 some years ago. So I think we do have time, but we're going to have some probably upgrades and things that need to happen before we get to whatever is set as our, kind of full implementation time. But as much as I would like to see us move that way and to separate over the Orion, as you acknowledge, maybe we can do something to improve that relationship. All I could say on that end of it is good luck. You'll be fighting a fight that has been fought. The system was originally purchased when Homeland Security gave out something called the Urban Area Security Initiative grants, VASI grants. The relationship was always good, communication wise and coordination wise, when the Omaha Council Bluffs metro area was part of those UASI identified metropolitan areas in the nation. We haven't been for a long time. And so that coordination was there because we were needed to secure funding, especially for this radio project. Now that that funding is gone, we're not really needed in the discussion anymore. In my opinion, that's how we've dealt with for several years. Most of the time that changes have been requested, or when we do this, that, it's always been the management group or the working group or whatever they call themselves didn't want to do it. Pretty much just out from the outside looking in. But
Sam?
if we had a more definitive picture, I think the decision would be easier for you. At this point, we don't have full cost in a whole migration and upgrade what we have, what we need to at the tower sites, number one. So your true costs are unknown. But number two, we can't get the coverage data, I think, for you to make an educated.
Have you seen the maps?
I have.
Your thoughts?
Can disagree with what Doug said. I mean, it's, we are in a situation, we have a system. It needs some attention, as Susan indicated, that we're gonna have to start doing some upgrades on these tower sites. Their team is in that process of trying to get that information to us, and they'll continue trying to figure out a plan on how to do that. There's essentially 3 or 4 different projects going on right now. The migration over to ISIX is just the one that's before you today, really. And if the funding's not there, then we need to establish a plan to get the funding so we can do that in the future. And if that's the best option, I don't know, obviously we don't know a dollar. Well, we have a dollar amount for this particular plan, how long it would take to get to that dollar amount. I don't know if that's 2 years, 5 years. Do you have any idea, Mitch?
It depends on how much.
I'm talking about the dollar amount in front of you today.
3 million?
6.
How long would it take us to get to that point, is my question.
2 to 3 years, unless you can come up with 3 million, and Doug can come up with 3 million.
So 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
So,
Mitch?
So I want to go back to what you originally started out talking about, where you said there's 4 projects out there. What are those 4 projects?
So the 6 million, or about 6 million,
I don't need the money, I just want the projects.
migration,
Migration's a project. Okay, gotcha. Okay,
placement of our consoles in the 911.
okay,
Updating all of our current tower sites, or refurbishing them, or however you want to word it.
okay.
Guess that was the 3 that I was thinking of.
And then
And then it's
Crescent Tower.
That, in my opinion, is part of the
the
migration.
upgraded towers
Okay.
and Essex.
Yes.
So that's the 4, right?
ISIX is the migration.
Oh, so there's only 3.
Yeah.
Okay. That's why I just wanted, okay.
I used to work for,
That makes it cheaper if it's only 3 versus 4.
and I've installed cell sites, and I've helped locate where the best places to put antennas, for instance. And so when you provide these maps to say either 95 or better signal strength, or it's white. I mean, there are third-party companies that can assess signal strength, 95 below. Am I right about when I say that? There are other communications companies that do this besides Motorola,
There are tools that can show the coverage, yes.
okay?
And then
But
the
they,
95% threshold is a mission critical threshold. You can show maps that show less than that.
right,
It's just not mission critical, pushes, when you're trying to access the system and you need that coverage, you need it to have that reliability when you're in a mission critical situation. So that's why we show 95%.
Doug was talking about the maps that he was looking at and trying to establish, something other than 95%. Maybe to take a look at that aspect of these maps. And that's not, with Motorola, that's not a possibility at this point.
It's not that it's not a possibility, but it is our standard to show maps that meet that mission critical, because
Right,
it's
right.
mission critical users that are using the system.
Who's got a list?
It's possible it's not policy, right? And
Right,
for
it's not
whatever-
policy.
For whatever,
Right,
for
exactly.
whatever reason, the uppers don't want that to happen. It puts us in positions like this when there's possibilities to move forward, so it doesn't cost us as much in the future, in my opinion, but that's not what they want to do.
I mean,
I-
who
quite
decides
frankly-
what that threshold is that you would be willing to accept? I
Well,
mean, I could ask the engineering if they're able to run a map for the Crescent area that has 90%, 80%.
They need to
mean-
show us a heat map that shows the full spectrum. And that's what should be provided all the time, every time, in my opinion.
What,
But that would help leadership struggling with significant public impact money decisions to make an educated decision. Because if we're talking about, this is our coverage today and we know where the dead spots are,
Right.
and not putting that tower in today, and we just see a little bit more white on this map compared to what we have today, but that white is a degradation from 94% to 90%. And we know in these specific areas where it's dropped down to 90 or something worse, we don't have any residential properties back there. We don't get calls for service in that area because of terrain in the area of the county that we're talking about. That puts us down a path of making a real decision, whether we can save taxpayer money by starting the process now and then budgeting for the future expansion of it or not. And that's the issue, in my opinion. And I would never, like I told, Sam and Steve, I would never go against their opinion if they thought that this was too much of a risk to responders, then it would just be a no bueno for me. But if it's, we just don't know because that information is not being provided to us.
so who's got the list of our towers? And I don't know what you want to call it, the equipment that's on them identified with the years and all that information. Is that something Jason's got or who's got all that?
So that's one thing that you're in the process of doing an inspection.
Why wouldn't we have that? Because we bought them. All the lists should have came when we bought the stuff, what we bought.
Sure,
So why don't we have that?
sure they probably do.
Who has it?
From 15 years ago, we'd have to try and see if that documentation was saved. These towers were erected.
Why would, we wouldn't, it's an asset. We would have kept all that.
I'm just
I'm not
saying,
saying it's not perfect, but I mean,
I'm just saying, I'm not sure if we have it, so I would have to go and look. I wasn't here,
I didn't say you were. I'm just,
so I can't speak to say that that stuff is there. But we have a good idea what's in the towers that were built 15 years ago or whenever they were built. What in that list do you want to see?
everything that we bought and put up. And the
Okay.
cost of it back then.
And the cost of it back then?
Yeah. I mean, it shouldn't be that rocket science.
I'm not sure if I have that information.
No, you may not. I thought Buildings and Grounds took care of all those.
They do a monthly inspection for us, but it's not an inventory. They go around to each tower every month They check, make sure the air conditioners are working, the heaters or the propane's
Do
full.
they have to replace them if they go bad?
Yes,
Building grounds does.
or we'll have to contract someone to replace them. They'll change the air filters, things like that. It's,
There should be records kept for every tower that we have. I mean, that's crazy that we don't do that.
Also, I have an issue. How about the antennas? There's multi-direction antennas, there's, 360 antennas. And the antenna technology also has had to improve. Am I right to say that? I mean, could it be a possibility of an antenna issue on some of this 95% signaling or less?
It is taken into with the engineering and in our proposal, the engineers have looked at what antenna, whether it's directional or omni, I think are what you're bringing up, but they are taking all of that into consideration to get the most coverage capable. With the FCC rules too, and being right on the state border, you can only send signals so far into Nebraska. But that's all been put into the design.
Into that, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I like the idea of putting a capital program together, including all of the features that we've talked about, planning for the future. I'm not in agreement that we can proceed with the purchase of this new agreement anytime in the next 6 months. I mean, we still need to get our heads wrapped around it. I know we've already talked with numerous invested parties, but we've got to have a plan for the future, not just a plan for today. And I think we need to put some more time into it. That's my thought. Brian, what are your thoughts?
I think we're jumping, I feel like I'm being pressured by a car salesman. Do the deal now, or you're out. We'll go to the next one. So I feel like we need to study this more. I really do. We can't let Crescent go. I wanted to see the map if we didn't put that in. And it's not good. I've talked with Doug about this, and like he said, we can't do that. It's not right. We need that tower there. It'd be great if the state had come in and put a tower somewhere where it would cover some of this. They knew when they put these in that we had a lot of issues. And we go to these maps around the county or the different counties. Pot County is one of the biggest counties and we got one state tower. I scratched my head over that.
And I did check on the state of the tower issue too. It's not going to happen. They've got no budget for that. They've got no plans.
And that's,
And
I want to know what the budget is for ISIX going forward.
well, ISIX, the ISIX budget is basically the maintenance and a little bit for upgrading as stuff goes on. It's a legislative appropriation. ISIX itself doesn't have a, capital deal. And again, our operational use, it's not an excuse on what you're saying about where they pick tower sites, right? But it's context-wise, it's important. The system was designed with the towers that were put into the state for that same 95% coverage, but in vehicle radio, number one. Number two, it was designed and built to create an interoperable solution statewide, right? Now, for towers strategically placed, so DPS, DOT, those kind of things, had probably the best coverage to be operational on it, absolutely, right? But their application and use of the system is completely different than local government, county government at the responder level for public safety. Just two different public safety applications, two different operating environments. So them putting a tower, say somewhere up in that dead area was probably a no benefit gained kind of scenario when they designed the original system. that contract is fulfilled. That's what was funded. There's no planning or indication or even discussion of, let's suck away some money and throw up some more towers somewhere. Now, does that mean that the state doesn't have money to be able to do that, sitting in reserves? That, we all know that we do, but, that's a governor thing and all that good stuff.
You look at around Des Moines, they've got 9 towers around Des Moines.
But
A lot of
Got
those are
one.
local enhancements that have been purchased by Des Moines or West Des Moines area. They're not all ISIC state-owned assets from the original 90 that were out there. Some of those are, Des Moines put in a couple, Westcom had a couple.
Okay, but I thought the circles on the map were
They,
original and the triangles were county.
the way they displayed it on that map is confusing, I do agree, but I am sharing with you that there's not 9 ISIC-owned sites in Des Moines.
There's
Okay.
90 sites that were built out for ISIX,
Mhm.
and now today they have 163 total towers that others have constructed that are part of the system. Yeah, and to go back to Sam's list of 3 projects, I would add the 4th one, which would be sharing a tower with Harrison and Shelby County up north of Minden. I think we need to explore that one too. I would throw that into this whole capital project as well.
Like,
Why? Because it would fill in a void, north of Minden and along the interstate that's in Potawatomi County.
is that a dead zone?
Yes.
Over the Tri-Center.
No, it's to the east of Tri-Center.
Closer to a Boca,
Harrison,
Walnut.
Shelby will pick up the cost, some of it.
Right. Explore sharing that tower and the cost. Because they've got dead spots, they realize they've got communities that aren't covered as well. So,
Then we'd still need the Crescent.
Shelby County.
yes, we still need Shelby, or we still need Crescent.
All right,
Shelby, the city.
and the one on the courthouse, correct?
Yes. Yes. Okay.
And I put forth options for you to consider to be able to move something forward and continue. I mean, I think you are correct in, establishing a way to be able to invest in your mission critical communications. And you have a starting ground that you could choose to, take a step forward, knowing that you may need to come back and look at these other areas, like in the Crescent area and others in the future. A lot of times I know our maps are conservative, and people have moved forward and then come back and looked at adding sites where they need it once they know what that coverage is. So I did provide that information for you to consider that, and it's up to you to decide how you want to manage this.
Harry, I do appreciate all of the time you put into this project. Tim?
I think we should, put a couple of board members on this and try to figure out, see if we can get some costs, maybe, look at some other options for us and then, later on in January, February, we need to start, putting together a, capital plan and start figuring out some kind of a funding stream where we can start some of this work. I think, Susan, I don't know, you make your own opinion, but I don't think there's anybody on this board ready to move forward and throw $4 to $6 to $10 million at something we haven't even had a chance to discuss, plan for, budget for. Some of us didn't even know of this until late December, and I don't think anybody's ready to move forward.
You said late December.
Or late November.
Okay.
November, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So, I just think that I agree, Tim.
We need study sessions,
You know, if we're,
and we need,
there's no way we're gonna have anything ready by the end of December to try to capitalize on some kind of a rebate program. Is something that we're just gonna have to deal with. We owe our citizens a good thorough vetting of this and make sure that we're spending the money right. And don't piecemeal something together
I agree.
or spend 3 or 4 million now and hopefully in a few years, we've got the right plan together. I mean, that's just not the way I wanna work. But, okay, all right.
I, would like to see the non-conservative maps.
I have to find out if engineering can do that or not.
Okay, well, they do a conservative one. I'd like to see a non-conservative one.
Well, when we put out maps showing 95% threshold, we're willing to test to that and be able to deliver that. So that's what I mean by that.
That's conservative?
Yeah.
95%?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, when we show paint on that map, we're gonna deliver that coverage on that map.
What guaranteed is, how's that guarantee written?
We do coverage testing to show that we've delivered the map, the coverage that we've shown you on the map.
On that day, time?
Oh.
Yeah,
And in my 20 years with Motorola, we've passed every single one of those coverage testing.
okay.
That's what I mean by, we know we're gonna meet those coverage maps. We're setting expectations for public safety communications. We're gonna deliver on those maps that we provide you.
Okay.
Susan, I'd like to volunteer for the supervisor studies session.
Okay. Currently, it's been,
I've got experience.
yeah, currently it's Brian and me, but
Oh, okay.
But-
I think you need experience in this
I-
issue.
I can remove myself from it, so.
Well, let's talk about it. Let's move on. I don't think we're ready to do this. We can put it on a discussion at another meeting. Set a couple people ready. It took half the time to talk with Doug, half the time to talk with Sam.
Well,
I mean, I just think there's other options for us out there, Susan, that we're not looking at.
I know we've talked about it for a long time. I know there's been a lot of people at the table. We've tried different gyrations. And I agree with what I'm hearing from the other board members. We're not in a position forward today, but we're not dropping the ball. We're not walking away from it. I'm going to make a commitment that we push forward with everything we've discussed today so that we can get a plan in place. And public safety is what it's all about. You all know how close to my heart first responders are, and I'm not going to put them in danger. And what I'm hearing today is nothing puts them in danger for what we're currently got, but there's better ways to do things. So.
Well, it shouldn't be coming to this board when it's at a 911 situation and the gun's to our head. I mean, somebody's got to get the information to us a lot quicker than this if we got these kind of issues out there, so.
And that was on me.
No, it wasn't on you whatsoever. If these problems have been festering for years from what I'm hearing.
They have been. We've talked about it in 911 and EMA clear back 10, 12 years ago,
I don't know.
13 years ago.
Well, remember it, the radios was the thing.
Radios was
The radios
huge.
was the thing
And
we always
updating.
talked about at those meetings when Bob was here. Bob's gone. And that was, none of the rest of this was dead zones and all this other stuff was not discussed until just recently. You know,
Briefly touched on tower upgrades too, but
but we've been doing some of those.
You need a motion for anything, Susan?
Well, we have a proposal with the date on it. So I feel we need to take an action.
All right, I'll make a motion that we do not move forward with the, proposal as presented.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Jerry, Brian, thank you very much for coming down. And for all of the effort that
And we
you put in.
appreciate our partnership and we value our partnership with you guys. We will continue to support and work with you and get you information, so that you guys can make the decisions for you.
I think we got a long ways to go.
Decision. We don't by any means want you to think of car salesmen or think there's a gun to your head, because there absolutely is not. I mean, those are just the facts of the pricing, and next year or the year after, we'll continue to bring you the needed information to make the informed decisions, absolutely. So we'll make ourselves available and engineers where needed.
I agree with the board. We're not gonna piecemeal this together. We're gonna have a plan, we're gonna put it in place, okay, and we're gonna be able to fund it. So not piecemeal. This is a total plan. Let's fund it. Let's get it done. That's what we're.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, piecemealing is not what we need, not what we would recommend, but it's more of a budget and what can and can't be done in certain times. So that's why you have what you have in front of us. By no means is that 10, 15-year plan for Fox County all in. So we can help with that.
And I hope we showed that through all of this work with you and doing the different options of the ski hill and North Crescent and looking at all the vertical assets. That will always continue with you to look and explore at all options for you at all times.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, moving to committee appointments from the week. I attended the FEMA meeting at the EMA, What Should Be Committee, SWIPCO. Went to Creston on Friday for the District 4 ISAC meeting. And on Saturday, I got to go to the Carter Lake Monument Firefighters Monument dedication.
Cool.
And they called out Midge Kai and Jeanette Johnson for all of their efforts in making that project work. And I thought that was really nice. They had thanks for county board members Scott Belt, Jeff Jorgensen, Susan Miller, Brian Shea, and Tim Wickman, with special mention to Midge Kai and Jeanette Johnson. And it's a beautiful statue, and I highly encourage everybody to go look at it. I've got photos if you want to see them. And it's also on the front page of the paper today. Brian.
Let's see, I went to the Dodge House open house for its yearly deal. Then the Hitchcock, I went to the school presentation. They're gonna open a charter school. And it's a lot of parents that they didn't want to move their children to Council Bluffs. Yeah. Sounds like a lot of parents are very interested in this. I went and listened. I was impressed by their thoughts and what they were doing. I went to the EMA FEMA class. Then there's a River Valley Park that's possibly coming towards the river. And then I went to Creston for the pizza, ISAC pizza, what's it called?
Pizza Ranch.
Pizza Ranch, the district meeting, and I could not make Carter Lake. I tried to get over there and I could not do that. And then yesterday, let's see, then that's good.
Jeff?
Yeah, I was at the Veterans Administration Executive Committee meeting yesterday. They had one of the VFW post members were there in force, basically. They had some questions about what's being offered these VFW or these veterans organizations in using that facility over there. And for instance, they have their mail delivered over there. We're not a post office. I just had to remind them that they need to get an official address themselves, not the Veterans Administration address. So just a reminder, this is an ongoing discussions. We're at it, but they also the VA committee was recognized by the state veterans organization for their due diligence and help with the veterans in Potawatomi County. So Holly's going to come over here at some point and we'll recognize her for that distinction. So appreciate it.
Cool.
The only thing I would say is that I've spoke with our legislators. They're gonna be here on the 7th of January. Kind of give us some kind of a direction of what they expect the legislature to do this year. It would be a great opportunity for us to ask them any questions we have about possible additional funding for or find out what direction they're going on ISICs or whatever. And some other things. And I'll remind you again before that day comes, but
Coming to the board meeting.
yeah, we have the people that have committed and RSVP'd is Brent Segrist, Mark Costello, Dan Dawson, Matt Winchittle, Josh Turek, David Seek. So we have the whole group coming.
Good.
I have some really good questions for them.
I bet they got good answers too.
Move that over to the public health.
What's that?
Do you want to move that over to the public health building that day?
I don't care.
Might be a thought.
I mean, that might be a question for the chairman, whoever that is.
All right, Scott, anything?
Went down to the Crest and Supervisor District 4, which encompassed, I don't know how many weren't supervisors, which is a little disturbing. I got ISACs. I can leave those with Jeanette and have her send them to you guys. The ISACs legislative priorities for this year, which I'm sure when those people show up in January, they'll be well aware of what those are and what farm bureaus are and that thing. So other than that, I think that was about it last week. Wish I would have went to Crescent, but I had
Carter Lake.
Carr Lake, I had a basketball game where they lucky if they can make a basket.
All right.
All grandkids.
I don't see anybody here for public comments. So we can move into closed session.
Just Kristen.
Okay.
Doug, thanks for coming over.
Yeah.
I make
Thank
a
you, Doug.
motion to go to closed session.
Second.
Pursuant to
21.5, parent I, parent 1, parent J,